A very good morning to one and all present here. This is not the good morning from my students. Good morning. A hearty welcome to all the panelists. And without further ado, I think we will get started. We're just waiting for another panelist. He'll be joining us very shortly while we begin this first ever New Horizon talk show, which is going online as well. Can we give it up for New Horizon College of Engineering, please? On behalf of New Horizon College of Engineering, I extend a very, very warm welcome to all the panelists. A big round of applause to all the erudite panelists who have taken away a lot of time from their busy schedule to be with us this morning to actually get into some meaningful conversations with both the academicians and the students as well. So without wasting any further time, I would like each one of you to kindly introduce yourselves. We'll begin with the person to my right, who is not at all unfamiliar to New Horizon College of Engineering. So I have a question for you, and also you can do your introduction along with the answer to this question. What is the role of artificial intelligence in the real estate sector? Who else can answer this than our beloved friend, a great friend of New Horizon College of Engineering? We have with us Mr. Volvo in the Shaker. He's the group head at Volvo. Over to you, Mr. Indushekhar.
Good morning. And I think I've been here a couple of times earlier representing the industry. Once with Confederation of India Industry and maybe the second time through Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce. My name is Indushekhar, and I head the real estate at Volvo Group India. Almost with industry for about 3.8 decades. Not an AI expert. I am not an AI expert, but I come here today, what we would do at Volvo, what are those plans for? Significantly, I spent my time in manufacturing. And of course, in the last few years, I've been taking assignments related to strategy development for the future. You know, we all talk about 2030, then 2040, whatever. And of course, now the last couple of years on as a real estate head. So, you know, Volvo Group in India, as I speak, we are 25 years since we started the operations in India. The moment you talk, you get Volvo in your mind, you know, the bus comes into your, and that's the brand ticket, you know, for Volvo. From starting the bus, then we had the trucks, which are produced in our plant in Hoskote. And then we also assemble the Volvo cars, the state of the cars, for significantly for the Indian market. And then we have another plant in Pena where we do the construction equipments. And one of the things that is happening in this country for the last 9-10 years is all to do with the infra work. You know, more number of roads, national highways, state highways, ports, airports, and so many. But in spite of it, all of us went through a massive challenge reaching this location. And that is a very familiar sight in several parts of Bangalore. Okay. So thanks to Mr. Nitin Gadkari, construction equipment has been growing very, very, very rapidly in India. And not just on the highways, but also talking about, you know, the electric vehicles. And now we have been almost like the green hydrogen and all that stuff coming up. And if I then would say, you know, combined, we are close to about 200 acres of facility, Pina and Hoskote. And we have about 5,000 employees who operate from Bangalore at Bagmani Tech Park. I think you are from Bagmani Tech Park? Yeah, at Bagmani Tech Park, we are close to about 3,500 employees who work, and lots of them towards Global Competency Center. That means we do engineering services for globally, digital and IT, then you also have the accounting services, etc. So, with that, welcome Srinivas, welcome. So with that, let me go to her question. What is the role of AI in real estate? Okay, I would give a perspective like this. As a manufacturing engineer, okay, and typically producing products, whether it's truck or excavators or compactors, pavers, etc., we would always look at what kind of facility we have and how good is this facility. And when we say real estate, we're not buying land and developing it and selling it. No, that's not our work. We are supposed to make sure that where we operate, they are giving the best to our employees in terms of its upkeep. So it encompasses everything towards the facility management, any future requirements that we need to do, and creating those work environments, especially in an office kind of these offices, especially post the COVID, they have become so critical. How good is your office in terms of its hygiene, etc.? Are they relevant? And if you need to drive the kind of working culture, does it really encourage collaborative working? Is it relevant to the modernized kind of a office environment? So our real estate is always looking at those concepts to make sure that the employees come in happily, work productively, and go back safely. So from an AI perspective, I could say that everything in terms of manufacturing, we will be exploring all those kinds of tools available through AI, but then also combining them, integrating them with, let's say, the lean manufacturing concepts too. Real estate, of course, it does help us in terms of the valuation, understanding the market, and then, making sure very, very specifically about the kind of, data that it can generate, because one of the things in real estate, especially the facility upkeep, is the amount of money that you would really spend in your maintenance upkeep. So we do have some of these things called as typical short-term maintenance, then long-term maintenance and new investment. I would say the database, if it gets created in a way, then you will be able to do a very almost precise budgeting. Otherwise, there is always a mess by trying to make some estimates and then it gets impacted in a very big way. So AI for us from a real estate perspective, I would say that it really helps in trying to get many of our facility upkeep to the best of its, I would say, what it really needs to be in making sure it is optimized. Yep, there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Indu. This is a question I'm sure my audience is going to ask you, code or no code? So we have a very right person who's going to speak to us about prompt engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to the alumnus of New Horizon College of Engineering. We have with us Mr. Krishnav. And Mr. Krishnav, I would like to get your opinion on the question, what should the students be doing? Is it a question of just mastering engineering, or is it engineering plus certain skill sets? So where is AI getting into this?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Yes, good morning. I think it's a very relevant question, and there's a lot of debate going on even on the web nowadays that is AI going to replace coding? Should we learn coding? Okay. Please remember one thing. It's very, very simple. AI is a help to you, is an assistant to you. It's not going to replace you anyway, right? It's going to give you a template, a basic template of code with which you can kickstart. That's what AI is going to do as of now. the current version of AI that we are using, we are in somewhere stage 3 and 4. AI has not reached a place where you just give a prompt, it gives you the entire enterprise code, and you run it and you sell the products for millions of dollars. It will give you a template. You are the ones who are going to make the template better and get the code forward. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, we have further questions, I'm sure, also from the audience. All right. Palo Alto is, again, not a new name to my students as well. So we have the Vice President from Palo Alto. The question is, what's the role of machine learning and AI, and what does Palo Alto do in terms of AI intervention in their workspace?
Sure, thanks for the question, Dr. Somi. I'll just first want to thank New Horizon College for having me. I think I've been involved on and off with New Horizon over the last 10 or 11 years since I've been in Bangalore. And very interesting and nice to see the college grow. Nice to have alumni always on stage. That gives a big boost of confidence. So in my role as Vice President of Product Management at Palo Alto Networks, in product management, our job is to design new products to solve customer problems, and also to manage roadmaps of existing products, right, through its life cycle. And cybersecurity is, I always say this, quote unquote, unfortunately something which will never go away. So it's a good business to be in, it's a good place to be in, but there are always bad guys out there. So when generative AI came into the picture, AI was around for 7-8 years, if not more, but when generative AI came into the picture, it really allowed everyone to have access to AI, one way or the other. So if ChatGPT came out, WormGPT also came out. And for those of you who are not familiar, WormGPT is a tool which allows you to develop new threats for IT infrastructure and so on. So in Palo Alto, we started using AI many years ago. We started using, I would say, machine learning many years ago. And the reason it's important to use machine learning, which is your foundation for building AI models, is the volume of data we need to deal with in cybersecurity. Security is constantly evolving. We have some very creative people on the bad side, on the threat actor side, which is what we call them in our world. And they are building new threat models, which we are also building. So we have our own teams doing a lot of research, but it requires volumes of data to predict whether something is actually bad or not, right? And the biggest challenge in cybersecurity is to do it runtime, because decisions are being made right now. The patient is on a heart monitor, and the heart monitor is connected to the network. And if that heart monitor gets hacked, you're basically putting that patient's life in danger. So that heart monitor has to be protected inline. So if there's a threat on that heart monitor, we have to detect it while it's on its way towards the heart monitor, in the network layer, or in the cloud, depending on whatever the architecture of the heart monitor is. So dealing with that kind of volume of data and being able to use it to predict is what we have been doing in cybersecurity for more than 7 years, I would easily say. The really good use of AI in cybersecurity today is making things faster and easier for our customers. Today, if you look at an average bank, even in India, without naming any one bank, they have deployments, what we say on-prem, which was how it used to be 10 years ago, when your lending application, your credit card transactions, everything went on-prem and it got processed. And when we say on-prem, it's the bank's data center. Now, because of the requirements of scale, the requirements of being agile, some of these applications have moved to the cloud, which means security spans on-prem and cloud. It's very hard to monitor security across such a big threat landscape. We call it threat landscape because every time you make a change in your IT domain, you're increasing your attack surface. Every device which Indu sir was mentioning is a new attack surface for a threat actor. If you add IoT to a crane, it's one place I can also attack. So each of these are sending signals. These signals have to be processed. That processing takes huge amount of compute, and hence machine learning is applied. But for a human to see what's coming from all these sensors, process it, and take a decision. At the end, you don't want machines taking decisions. AI gives machines autonomy, but they have to act as assistants, as Krishna was saying. The decision making still lies with the humans. So AI in cybersecurity, the big thing we have started, and in certain cases already in trials, is assistance to what we call co-pilots to our customers. So in very simple natural language, asking them, you're able to ask a system, where was my threat generated? Where did it originate from? What should I do next? Right? So really helping humans make really hard and runtime decisions is what AI is really going to help in cybersecurity.
Thank you, Swapna. We were talking about the questions from the students, and I'm sure there are lots of questions from my faculty members as well. So we have with us a gentleman who has had 25 years of experience being a technologist and has become the adjunct faculty. And his experience is varied. And over to you, Sridhar, a quick introduction about what you do. And the question to you is, what should my faculty do in terms of upskilling themselves? So the question of AI replacing them, or they still reign supreme, is something that's answered. Over to Sridhar.
So, good morning. Sorry about the late entry. Completely went beyond my vaguest predictions. And I thought I'll be here by 10:30, and it is beyond all projections. So we know that machine learning models that Google uses also have their limitations, right? Humans are superior to AI as of now. So my background, very briefly, is so I was an electrical engineer, a very bad one, and then repaired the damage by doing MBA, like many people of my generation. So they say, engineering ka paap MBA mein dhoya, right? So I'm not giving you any hints. You can continue doing what you like, right? So post, and then I went to IML, then joined Wipro to be a software developer. Right? Very different for those days, but I was very clear what I wanted to do. And the hint I'm giving is, whether you're student or faculty right now, the number of options are going to be multitude. So we should just take the guidance from inside. Right? Is this the path I want to take? Is this how I want to pursue things? There's going to be space for everything. And the world has seen many waves. In my few decades of being in the IT industry, I have seen many waves. Each time a wave comes in, they say, this is it. And then it becomes an addition to the existing stacks. Mainframes haven't gone away yet. COBOL is still a hot skill. So this will get added. Whatever we have now will become a tool set. So if I'm aspiring to be a faculty, or if I'm currently a member of the faculty team, then absolutely embrace GPT, which I'm sure has already happened. A couple of days ago, I was at a doctor's clinic, and the doctor has never used GPT. He thought it needed programming. Right? So as part of his consulting us, we consulted him that, you use GPT like this, and it was two-way, right? I didn't charge him, but he charged us, right? So saying no, I think, would be a mistake. Saying in my field this will not be relevant. I don't think it should be 0, 100, but start adopting to the extent it makes sense. I think the evaluations have already become a problem, right? Any assignments that we give, we don't know who's writing it, right? So there was one question that I wrote into GPT and I got the exact code that the student has submitted, including variable names and comment statements and things like that, right? So should we say the person is at cutting edge using the right tools, which they will anyways use at workplace, right? Or we can call it like academic dishonesty or whatever. So we are going through interesting times. So I think we should adopt and make the most of what happens. Learning has always been fun, and I think we should just embrace AI and see what happens next. My prediction for AI use cases, pan-industry is, we don't know what AI can do. I think we are at that stage where we thought mobile phones were useful for making phone calls without a wire connecting it to a base. Right? In 20, 30 years of mobile phones, the kind of use cases that we've come up with are vastly different from what we started off using them. So the role of AI is going to change. I think we should just roll with it, right? And see where it takes us. That would be a good way of approaching it.
Thank you, Sridhar, for your initial comments as far as the use of AI. And we'll move on to somebody from the medical field. I would like to ask Ashwati, has the bridge between the doctor and the patient actually closed in? And Ashwati works for DOSI, which does contactless patient monitoring, and over to Ashwati to explain to us in detail as to what exactly they're doing to bridge this gap.
Thank you, Soumya, for that question. And also thank you to all of you for attending this. I am really excited about this engagement. It's been 10 years since I graduated, so such a student interaction is something that I'm definitely craving for. To your question, specifically at DOSI, so I lead the data science department at DOSI. And our aim there is connected health, so remote patient monitoring and early warning systems, because too often we wait for things to go too wrong before we go to the doctor, or even within the hospital, we wait for things to go too wrong before we are escalated, before the patient gets escalated to, say, a critical unit. So that is where DOSI steps in. So we are able to convert the regular ward beds into step-down ICUs. By that, what I mean is that we are able to monitor the patient's vitals, their heart rate, their respiration rate, their blood pressure, SpO2, and then notice a trend in it. The moment we see that they're probably deteriorating, we raise an alarm so that the physician can then step in and do what they do best. And I do echo the sentiments shared here in terms of AI is not to be looked at as a threat. It is not a replacement. Threat, yes. In your example, yes, definitely it is a threat. But not as a replacement, but an assistance. And it's a much needed assistance when it comes to healthcare. We've seen how bad the situation was during the pandemic. If we were to look at numbers, WHO recommends one nurse for 300 people in a population. In India, we have one nurse for 670 people. And clearly, they are overburdened. How do we help them? How do we develop tools and infrastructure that can help these nurses? Because today a nurse has to go from one bed to the other and monitor these vitals for every spot check, manually check their heart rate, manually check their blood pressure, their respiration rate, note it down manually, and then monitor it every 4 hours and then see if there is a trend. All of this is manual work, but it's easily automatable. So that is where AI can also help. Another place is visualization, right? There is a lot of clinical information that doctors have to convey to the patients. Not a lot of it is best conveyed verbally. Maybe we can use AI tools to visualize the information better, to be able to convey that information better. Language is another barrier. Why allow language to curtail the best healthcare to a certain person? Maybe there is somebody sitting in one part of the world who's an expert in a certain domain, a certain kind of illness, and then we are in another part of the world. Why allow language to be the barrier? Maybe AI can help with that, translation. So assistance is where it can really help us in healthcare domain. And but yes, Professor Sridhar did mention role with it. One word of caution, especially in the healthcare domain, to not do that is because we don't know what the cons could be. So that is where regulation comes into picture. So the government needs to step up. We need to have regulatory bodies that ensure that we always have, say, a human in loop. So it's not completely automated. We check. We have a human element as well there. So the good news is that in 2018, the government did do something like that. We are in following the right steps. We are in the process of having regulation in place.
Thank you so much. I think we'll get into something which is in moot. We can discuss, debate on this. Question to all of you from the discussions, whether it is the assembly line or whether we are speaking about the security or we're speaking about the contactless patient monitoring. If I'm just going to leave you with a statement that prevention is better than cure, are we really going to fall back on this? Are we really looking at prevention, or are we looking at the damage being done with artificial intelligence and then we taking remedial measures? So it's just a point of discussion. So how important will AI be in terms of its intervention in every sphere in what you're doing?
Yeah, let me just, thanks for this question. See, certainly prevention is better than cure, okay? So let's say, today, especially post-COVID, work from home has become a norm, okay? Companies are really having this challenge of, huge properties, space which is available, but people don't come in, okay? Then you still pay, your rents. So occupancy becomes a very critical aspect. And then space is money, okay? After all, end of the day, whatever we talk, it is all to do with business. Anything that comes in, there will be something in the market, somebody will grow, somebody will not grow, somebody will make more money, somebody will not make money. And for your point, for sure there will be some people who will lose jobs. That is also there, okay? So now companies who can perhaps, take that hit, they might have been, even if the occupancy is 50%, 60%, you still pay money for air. Paying for air, not for people to come and sit. We want people to come and sit and work. And if they don't come, what to do? You pay for air. And that is going to hit you so badly on your P&L. So AI, let's say all these sensors, etc., they are all made sure one way or the other there on your seats. And the guy, he or she comes in, she occupies, he or she. Then it signals here what is the occupancy rate today. Okay? And then you would say, hey, this is the trend that the occupancy, we have seen some normal percentage, some average. Could we negotiate with the landlord? Could we say that we would give away some amount of space and save money for the company? So optimizing is also something that we would really look at it, space, and then so that way prevention is better than cure, okay? So, and that I would like to draw a parallel, again from an industry perspective. Lean, 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 be lean, be lean. That means the lean thinking, even if you combine that with design for manufacturing or design for assembly, etc., you should be thinking, could I use what I have instead of just trying to, add in, etc. So I would say enablers are good, they would help, but certainly AI is also going to take away, I don't know, several lakhs of jobs or millions of jobs, I don't know, maybe my friend you should tell that. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, a very rightful observation from him is definitely AI is going to take away a lot of jobs. And as a part of machine learning industry from long, I just realized one thing is I did not introduce myself. So I would like to learn that and I would like to improvise on that. But overall, I've been more than a decade in this industry. And he's perfectly right in this case is this particular wave of AI is definitely going to take away some jobs. But every crisis has an opportunity within that. And the opportunity over here is to upskill, to match up, to learn these new tools, ensuring that your skill set is above certain grade where you don't lose that particular job. So yes, say I was just reading across, probably we were discussing in the morning, that there was some X million number of jobs being extinct. But against that, there is some X plus N millions of jobs that will be created. I can give an example. Say for example, I'll talk about video creators, right? So we have seen a tool called Midjourney. If you all have heard about this tool, right? You just give a prompt that I want an artistic picture where some superhero is flying in air and the sky should look like this. Just give that prompt and it gives you an realistic image. So probably in this case, if we think on one side that the artists are going to now lose the job, the people who are very good with some of the Adobe tool set are going to lose the job. But think from other side, the people who already know this technology, okay, I'm talking about the original artists. What if by spending some amount of time, they upskill themselves by learning prompt engineering? And trust me, these tools are not very complex to learn. You just need to know what to prompt, right? You need to write certain specific words which is going to give you that image. So as I said earlier, AI is going to be your assistant. It's going to give you a template. And if you know how to use the template, you will be the one who will not lose the job. You will be the one who will be paid higher than others, right? So just to summarize this, AI is not going to replace you. Okay, the person knowing AI will replace you. Okay, and that's the challenge. That's the delta that you all need to cover upon.
Yeah, I think well said, Krishna. Please. So all of you have read about the industrial revolutions, right? So when people used to travel by horse, then the combustion engine, the cars came. Another big revolution was the internet. Do you think we've been losing jobs throughout, ever since the horse unfortunately lost its job? How many of you are riding horses to work or college every day? No one. Okay. But somebody started building cars. Somebody had to innovate the car. They started building cars.
Yeah, I wish I was riding a horse today.
Yes, you probably would have reached sooner. Yes, in Bangalore, we need horses or we need planes. Guys, any of you could be building that plane which could take us from place A to place B. So, one for you. But the point is, AI is a revolution. It's one of the biggest revolutions that's going to change a lot of jobs. And I don't like saying we're going to lose jobs. I like saying the jobs are going to evolve into something else. Simple things, right? When the ATM machine came, have the banks stopped hiring more people? It's become back-end heavy. The number of branches has reduced. It's more convenience for people, but there's a lot of back-end work now that happens at banks. So jobs have transformed. So this AI revolution is going to cause a lot of jobs to transform. Question is, are you ready for that transformation? Are you upskilling yourself for that transformation? That's really the question.
I like to break it into two parts, two perspectives. So when you say prevention is better than cure, one is the general discussion about job loss, so preventing job loss, and the other is preventing things going wrong in healthcare. So when you talk about prevention of job loss, I would again take Professor Sridhar's example there about the assignment. That you mentioned, that you noticed that the exact code, the exact variable names was what was submitted by one of the students. Now that is where the prompt becomes very important. If I were to take, because I deal with signals a lot, if I were to take an example of a problem where you have a signal and now you have to find the periodicity of the signal. If I simply ask ChatGPT, write a code to find periodicity of the signal, that is not intelligent enough. I am not using human intelligence there. The prompt has to be better. Can I say that find the periodicity of the signal using Fourier transform, or find the periodicity of the signal using autocorrelation and then Fourier transform. Or even better, find the periodicity of the signal, applying low smoothing, remove some outliers, then you do autocorrelation, then you do the Fourier transform to get the periodicity. That is where our intelligence comes into play. Can we have better prompts? And that's the upskilling as well. Use learning the techniques, so the key concepts, the fundamental concepts do not change. We still have to go by first principles. We still have to question. But just maybe the act of writing up code is something that perhaps we could outsource. Even then, we need to review that code. We cannot simply rely on the code that is given out by, say, any AI tool. We need to have that eye to review code. That is the like the part that I wanted to talk about, prevention of job, when it comes to, say, an example of tech programming. But when we talk about prevention of things going wrong in healthcare, I don't know how many of you would recall, or maybe you are all too young, but there was this Dolly the sheep, right? The clone, if you know. That happened in, I think, 1997 or something. Do you think that we don't have the technical capabilities or the scientific advancements in so many years to have cloned a human being? There is an ethical reason for us to not have done that. We are always taking a step back to realize, are we ready? Should we even do this? What are we solving from it? That's a similar question that we need to ask when we are applying AI in healthcare. Should we have a knee-jerk reaction and just go with it? No, this is not an industry where we can do that. This is an industry where we apply it for assistance. Even in assistance, we need very good regulation. You may know about the case with some big tech social media companies, right, where there was a controversy around influencing election results based on the focused campaigning. The thing was, it went under the radar. We did not think of it when it was happening, and it took us years to realize that, oh, that's the power that social media has. The kind of news that I get may not be neutral. It is based on the kind of browsing I do. It is catering to my needs. It is catering to what I want to see, what I prefer. That's not true. That is not the real news. That may not be, that will be a perspective that I already probably enjoy watching. But maybe we did not realize that it has tangible effects. And we shouldn't wait for similar things to go down in healthcare. So we need to be more preventive in healthcare. Yes, we need to have regulatory bodies that keep the industry in check, but at the same time, we shouldn't not appreciate innovation or not build space to foster innovation, because it is very important. Like I mentioned earlier about how the infrastructure needs support. AI is where we can offer support. Mr. Indu also mentioned about occupancy rate. That is something very vital when you come to hospitals as well. What is the occupancy rate of beds, the ward beds, the ICU beds? How efficiently are we utilizing them? Because running cost of having an ICU is huge. Are we utilizing it to the fullest? AI can help us analyze all of that. AI can help us efficiently use all of those beds. So yeah, that's my answer.
Just add point. See, when I said, there will be job losses. You are saying that it has to be new skill, that, this, etc. But the fact remains, there will be job loss. And, I am also a believer that people who lose jobs, they are the ones who are going to become successful entrepreneurs. Successful entrepreneurs, because in today's context, it is important to fail early, and then come back quickly, double the speed for succession. So this is very important. If you just say, you're going to lose, no, we are not going to lose any job, some new skilling, that always happens. But I would say that will make sure they would go after it and create something, they would create jobs. This is my view.
Yeah, I would like to add one more point here. So before we get it into more discussion, do you all understand which level of AI we are currently on to? There are various stages of AI. If not, I'll just give you a general idea. So stage number one of an AI automation is usually a rule-based automation. That means if you all have interacted with these standard chatbots, which gives you generic replies, that is level number 1, right? Level number 2, it's kind of more, I would say, historical based or innovative reply based models. Something like Alexa, Google Home, and other products that you have used. So basically, it understands your historical transactions and tries to give you better results, right? The third level is something like more of domain specific, right? I'm not sure if you guys have heard about IBM Watson. It's a product from IBM. Basically, it is built up to deal with legal issues. So you pose a legal question to the bot and the bot gives you a reply as good as a legal attorney, right? Next is a generative phase, or I would say super generative phase that you are seeing right now. We are not there yet, but tools where you just give some prompts and it generates you music, videos, audio, anything of that sort. The next level, the level number 5 is AGI, general intelligence. Then it is super intelligence, stage number 6, ASI. And then it is called singularity. So what I was trying to say was, the time taken by the industry from go to stage number 3, 4, up to stage number 7, where we actually see that AI is going to completely replace you, there is time. And this time will be used by the workforce, probably in our country, to upskill themselves and not to lose the jobs. So we do have a good amount of time, between the delta is pretty high. And we guys probably being engineers, I'm one of you. I exactly know how we study. We go reverse. I hope all of you understand what I'm trying to say, right? We try to go reverse. We understand what is the outcome first, and then we try the root cause of it. So it is not a big deal for all of us to pick up new skills. And I bet all of you, I think you all have tried ChatGPT, right? You pick up any tool, it will not take more than a week for all of you to get started onto it. And then it's all your motivation, how far you want to reach on that part. Yeah, so that's my answer to this question.
Sridhar, you had something to say?
Yeah, so see, these words are very black and white. Prevention is better than cure. Prevent what? Right? First, then we have to define prevent means something from going wrong. Now, there itself, we may not have an agreement of what is wrong. See, is it good to kill a human being? Anyone agrees? Please raise your hands. But courts have approved, right? Not just criminals, but unborn babies. Okay, stark reality. And there are situations where the society redefines what is right and wrong with time. What is acceptable changes with time. See, no maid servant today would want to wash clothes because it generates employment. She would prefer that you use a washing machine and she handles the other things. Just scale it up. Nobody wants to do unnecessary labor if there's a machine that can make their day more productive, right? Would we be in a bullock cart versus sitting on automobile? So there is always an evolution of what is right and wrong. We think there is clear-cut right and wrong, but that itself is a fallacy. Right? Second one is all tools. Right? All tools, from even if you take Stone Age, Metal Age, Fire Age, whatever age it is, the tools always precede and have their run for a very long time before regulations, legislation even tries to catch up. The guy producing the virus is 3 steps ahead of the cure, right? And that's why she says they're always in business, right? So AI, I don't think most of us even know what AI is or what it can do. We think it is something cute, it's generating something, right? And it's free, right? But its potential hasn't even been realized by people who are using it regularly. Lots of people are researching to find out why it works. The how it works is easy, right? They trained it. Even old algorithms, we are still trying to figure out why it works. So for us in the so-called geek world to catch up on the internals of AI is going to take years. And for legislators to understand what it does and then formalize this is right, this is wrong, it's going to take ages, right? And the industry that I have always been part of says experiment and fail fast. right? So we keep trying new things. We are the innovators. And we've been driving the world's way of working since decades now. So there is, like it or not, next billion people coming up. Who's going to feed them? The old ways of agriculture will have a problem. There's going to be water shortage, there's going to be air shortage, there's going to be space shortage, right? So I think I truly believe there is a need for quantum productive ways of living life, because there's a completely new world order that will keep emerging every once in a while. So whoever has discovered tools before has always said this is the right way of using atom bomb or any bomb, for example. Guns, knives, fire. Buses can kill. So, right? Anything can kill, right? So technology is always good, but then there'll always be misuse, and the regulation and other things will keep catching up. So there is no need to prevent anything. There is nothing that's going to go wrong. We don't even know what wrong is, because the wrong itself will get redefined based on new tools that are available. See, to throw somebody out of a job is wrong, absolutely wrong, because that person's family suffers. But tell me, is it good to uproot trees? We've paved roads. Come on, how did I drive here? I have seen dozens of trees that used to be there. The same road I used to go to Wipro Sarjapur office, they're all gone now, right? So it's part of life. And to call it right, wrong, maybe I think is oversimplification.
Thank you, Sridhar. That was a very interesting perspective, trying to draw the boundary between what is right and wrong. Probably we're getting to a little philosophical touch out there. Just a question. See, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 people working in the technology space. Where vis-a-vis somebody in the human space. Where does experimentation lead us to? Is it okay to experiment with a lot of these technologies? I think the person from the medical industry has to answer. There, the question of a human life is involved. Vis-a-vis, if something goes wrong with the use of technology, I think we can cure it. But at what cost? So I'm just trying to bring in a little more divergent perspectives in this. I, for one, very strongly believe that artificial intelligence can never, ever replace us. So the question of experimentation, I think Ashwati should throw light. What is that you do in terms of experimenting your technology in patient monitoring?
Thank you. So we work in stages. We do not say in one fine day have an idea that we will replace all these existing clinical solutions and then replace it with AI. So the way we work is we partner with hospitals, well-established hospitals. We also have a proper government route to do that. And then we conduct clinical studies. And these studies are not to put the patient at risk at all. So no innovation is happening for diagnosing the patient in the study. The diagnosis happens the traditional way using the current clinical standard. Our products are just there as a subsidiary, and then we study. Could we maybe provide more information to support the diagnosis? Could we make it more efficient in any way? So we're just silent observers while the study is happening to see how does this data help what we're already doing. Can we make it efficient? Can we make it efficient in not just in time, but also in compute resources? Can we make it efficient in terms of the bed utilization, like I said? Can we make it efficient for the time of the physicians, for the nurses? Like we did one study, and the report is done, our Satwa report, if you read it, it's a third-party organization that's studied it and put the report out. They've noticed that by using doses monitoring, nurses were able to reduce the monitoring time by 80%. That's a significant drop. That is them going from, say, one bed to the other, doing all those spot checks that I was able to do, I was talking about earlier. So yes, when we are experimenting, it is never in like a dark, dingy place where something shady is happening. That is not the process that anybody here is following, quite frankly. So we have regulations in place for that. We have proper clinical studies, vetted studies with principal investigators who are sought out, very proficient doctors in that field. Yeah.
Over to you, Swapna.
Yeah, I wanted to understand your question a bit more, but I'll give my perspective that technology today is pervasive. I don't think there's any industry where there's no technology. And my son wanted to join mechanical engineering. I said, no, you've got to do computer science. But knowing technology and how it helps drive a business there's no question about it, right? So can technology do bad? Absolutely. I mean, nobody knows what is bad and what is good. But think of when the gun was invented. The police also use guns, but the bad guys also use guns. So it's how you use the technology is what really makes the difference. Technology can do wonders in the medical field. One of the biggest use of AI is in the medical field, and I'm talking a little bit out of my current domain, but based on some of the previous roles I have held in seeing the applications of AI. Prediction is something we as humans are only so limited. Doctors, based on experience, develop very rich diagnosis. They are able, and there are tools which assist them, right? The MRIs, the X-rays, and blood tests, and so on. Predicting some patient's illness well in advance, based on genetic influences, based on the protein dynamics, that is something AI can do. Today, humans can't process that kind of information. Is that bad? Is it bad when an AI actually tells a person, you are going to get cancer in the next 5 years based on all the information I have? The patient can choose not to do anything. But the patient has that information, and the patient would not have had that information without technology. So ultimately, it's how you use the technology tool, for good or for bad.
Thank you. Over to Krishna.
Yeah, so a very good application, I would say, and it's very relevant. The only thing we need to think about is how accurate these models are. Because if the prediction is wrong, or probably if the update or alert given by the LLM is wrong, the next 5 years is going to be very bad for the patient. So probably not because of cancer, he might have developed paranoia on background, right? So it's all about how much historical data we have, how confident we are, and how good is the performance of our model, right? So along with the application also, there should be probably a data governance team and also a neutral body which could monitor and authenticate that, okay, whatever this model does is actually right. Because as a developer, say if I develop a model, I'll be very much biased towards my development, saying that my model works the best. I don't care what other people say, right? So there could be an authority about all of these who can say that, yes, this is right, we give you a license to do that, and please go ahead and implement it, right? So maybe, probably, being from medical side, you would be a better person to answer. I don't know the nitty-gritties of it, but there should be some regulatory body here.
Yeah, so even when we're talking about our model experiments, whoever's done this before may know that you have the test set, you have the training set, you have the validation set, right? Beyond this, we also have like a clinical validation data, which is blinded to us, blinded to the team that has worked on the model, sometimes even blinded to the rest of the company. And our clinical partners that I was talking about, they are the ones who evaluate the model on it. So there are these measures to ensure that there's no even if there is bias, that bias is limited to the test set that my team has access to. There is another validation set that is completely blind to us. And yeah, but that's specific to our work. But in general as well, we need such protocols to be standardized. Yeah.
I've worked with clinical trials a little bit, not that intimately, but I was mentoring a product that was enabling people to do clinical trials. So you have various stages of it. So you have the initial, the alpha, like in software we have alpha, beta stages, right? The equivalent of it, and then the various stages of testing. Now, the question of can we experiment? I'm saying if we don't experiment, can anything make progress? See this bulb that's troubling me right now. Right? Imagine sitting in front of 1,000-watt bulb right in your face, right? But this bulb probably took years of experimentation. Right? And poor Edison was trying out all sorts of things, from his own hair to his wife's hair maybe, right? So experimentation is is the only way science has progressed. And experiments do go wrong. And there is no, see, you cannot have it both ways, right? If you go into the field, many of the people that are volunteering for drugs to be tested on them, why are they doing that? They know that there are side effects. If you've seen, even there are some movies where somebody who's not very well economically volunteers to be, tested on a particular drug, right? Knowing fully well there are side effects. Think about it. They think poverty is worse than the side effects, right? So these things, this is the reality of the world, right? We cannot be woke about it. There was a video of a lady talking in Japanese. Real time, it's getting translated into another language. The person in the counter is answering that, right, in their own language. Real time. Right. Now we like this. There was a very similar video of a blind person wearing glasses. See, I have been technology enabled since my childhood, right? So I understand what this would have meant. If I didn't have glasses, my life would have been very different, right? Now this blind person was wearing a glass that was reading out the objects in front of them. It is helping them know which currency note they were holding. Is it possible to develop something without trials? No. There's far more intense one. My father was paralyzed on one side, then on both sides. If there was any technology anywhere in the world that was going to cure him, I would have got it, right? I think we would all do it, right, for our own dear ones. So they have connected things to the brain, and it is sending signals. The exoskeleton, like the one that Iron Man wears, is helping a completely paralyzed person walk, right? Think about our soldiers, right? They go through, do weird sacrifices, right? I mean, unbelievable sacrifices. Their family would be grateful for a chance to clone them, to have them walk again, to see again, to replace the limb that was lost in a completely unnecessary event. So experimentation is a way of getting these things out. We don't like the path the experimentation takes. We like the results. But as all of us know, the path of learning something is also quite painful. We like the marks. We like the understanding. But the struggle that we go through alone, in our rooms, in front of our desks, I mean, that's the same path that scientific experiments go through. So I'm just trying to provide the counter view, right? I'm not just trying to be the clever one here. I'm just saying there is another side that we should see.
Yeah. So, thank you, Sridhar. So, AI, to me, I can just try to rephrase it. I would say attitude and innovation. Companies today can only exist if there is innovation happening there. So you have to keep the people at the center and make sure that the innovation is driven through all use of all the enablers. At Volvo, let's say we produce all those state-of-art trucks, buses, construction equipment. As I rightly said, so much behind with the R&D that keeps happening. Okay? If you are trying to take a, let's say, a reliability test for 1,000 hours, then just imagine the amount of diesel, that this, etc., resource that you need to spend to clock that 1,000 hours. Now with the technology that is available and enablers that are available, you would try to simulate and see how could I do that within the facility, maybe within 50 or 100 hours. And that way you are able to use the technology at its best. Now, technology also, there's a big shift that's happening in India. Okay, we all know about the electromobility, okay, moving from ICE to EV. And then you have to start understanding these concepts and how do you get them charged and what are the infrastructure, what are the other things coming up in the renewable category, etc. He was looking at the lights. I was looking at, is it green energy? Is there so many lights needed? Why it can't be a LEED building, LEED platinum certified? I don't know. We can always talk about many of those things. But eventually, AI, ChatGPT, you name any of these things, they are enablers to drive the business efficiency. Okay? Just on a lighter note, I don't want anything to be taken on any personal front. Krishna, come. Lighter note, Mechanical engineer, 60 years old.
Electronics engineer, 35 years old.
Now, I was just trying to give an analogy that no matter whatever discipline you are, okay, it's important to stay agile, fit all through. He is fit, he is agile, okay? But you need to space it out yourself. You have got a long career, 60 plus. I am ready for the next career, using all the enablers. So for me, it is when Dr. Soumya, you called up and said, you need to come to this AI. I said, hey, come on, folks. What is this? Mechanical engineer, and I'm in real estate. What do I talk about AI? But that's the best. Get out of your comfort. Go back to what's on AI. Learn something. Come and then you will be able to share. And that is what we talk about: learning, networking, and sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
No offense, my friend.
All right, I think the audience is kind of, revving up with a lot of emotions now.
He's mechanical and has learned Python. So I've equipped him both ways.
All right. Question to Sridhar. See, I have a lot of my faculty friends out here. So you seem to be telling that we need to embrace technology. Fair enough. See, we as faculty members are very, very confused in the sense, should I go into a Coursera kind of a program? Or what are the skill sets that actually I should be honing? And we always believe that we need to be an inch up, I think a notch better than our students. All right? What is this feeling that we have? What are the skill sets that you think that will actually help the present generation faculty to deal with the AI students?
See, there are some departments where you're teaching, let's say, machine learning, and you have to upgrade your course outlines to AI. I'm helping many institutes go through that. If there are queries around it, I'm more than happy to in whatever ways. I'm sure there are umpteen sources for that. So one set of units you will have is producing machine learning engineers or people who are into analytics and things like that, and they need to get updated, right? In the industry right now, there is a lot of hiring holdups that are going on, but there are some pockets where almost all companies are experimenting with anything touching Gen AI, right? So you might just want to look at updating course outlines either formally or informally through patch fixes, right? And then there are other departments where you use IT in the form of maybe you had simulation tools or you were also using IT. Like I'm an electrical engineer and I did Fortran coding to do load balancing of a power system ages ago. So you could be in electrical or other departments, but you're using IT, then there could be newer ways of approaching the same thing. But for everyone now, AI can actually be one of these 3-4 things. It can be a coach. It can be something that gives us feedback. It can be a student. So I am teaching this topic. Can you pretend to be a student and just see if I've understood this topic, right? So if I'm a teacher getting ready for a session, even if it is not on AI, I could use AI as an enabler. And just like computers were a few decades ago, they were restricted to the IT department in the company. They were restricted to the computer science department in an engineering campus. Now everybody has computers, right? So AI, I mean, it's just another tool. So you should, in fact, there should be nothing that we are doing today that should not use AI. I'll actually throw a challenge that other than, maybe right now cooking food, even that can be, touched. Other than eating food, whatever human beings naturally do, other than that, every process we should see what applications there are. And it'll just enrich us. Right? It can make us more productive. There are studies after studies just confirming the obvious, that in X percentage of tasks, which is very high, 60-70% of tasks, people have been seen to be 40% more productive, 50% more productive. Time studies have been done. So it is a natural productivity enabler. And if we are going to be more productive, I think we will just get more done naturally, and we can be more available for students. We have to find, I think it still doesn't exist in our education system where we can acknowledge GPT formally, right? I'm sure that's the case that all of us are struggling with. This damn thing, should I swallow it or should I throw it out, right? What if you set the question in a different way? Like, Dhirubhai Ambani asked what to do with mobile phones, and he came up with a completely different vision that, in a way, changed the country. What if you said that we are going to find the most innovative way of putting GPT at the center, transforming the way we see education? Then others will learn from New Horizon, right? So instead of waiting to follow. Medical universities in the US, they are offering analytics programs. It's very common now. Right? We had mechanical engineering and robotics, mechatronics courses are normal now. So I think this whole fusion of streams is just a way of life. So whether it is course material creation or enabling students to learn, it should be AI first. That's how I would see it. Right? And it just makes us that much more powerful, that much more ready for the future. And we're all seeing this. UAE has a huge organization where they are lapping up every possible GPU. Same thing is being done by Japan. Same thing is done by China. Same thing is done by US. Somehow in our country, we look at the government and say, can you just stay, in the race? Can you do this? Right? And all of those questions are popping up. I would not see this as, should I use it? Please do it for the country, right? Because if we are going to produce more modern skill sets in our students, right, whichever university we are in, I think we are going to set Bharat ahead in the race. And this is a global race that's happening. It's like a new weapon has been discovered and everybody is trying to weave it into their competitive advantage. So just please do it.
Thank you so much, Sridhar. To both Krishnav and Swapna. So we've looked at what the faculty needs to do in terms of augmenting their skills. And we need your answers, after which we can probably have a wrap-up of the discussion. I can see along the back that lots of and we get into the Q&A. So what do you think students out there should actually be doing in terms of augmenting their skills? Number one, what kind of skill sets? And don't you think, I'm talking on behalf of the students, anything that they do in assignment is looked at very suspiciously? Is that a chat or is it an authentic work? Do we have, by which I can tell that it's my students, definitely. It just so happened he has copied it.
Yeah, I listen to. So the first answer for that is kind of, I wanted to even, add up on what he said was, see, as students, so probably in my case, during some of my final years, probably third year or fourth year, I got at that point of time, there was something called RFID, which was taking up the boom. So it's something like a wireless contact of a tap of a card. So probably if you want to enter a room, you just tap it up, the door opens up. It was a big deal at that point of time, right? And I did develop that as a project final year in the college and probably tried working out a solution with a couple of stores at that point of time, right? So what I would like to tell all of you in this case is that if you remember, I had interacted with, I think, the AIML batch over here, if I'm not wrong, if they are here. But in the last interaction, I had showcased all of you a potential application which could help the college, face detection. Right? And I gave an idea about, right, what if there's a camera in the class, or what if the professor has a camera? You just snap a picture of the class and the attendance is auto taken. Right? So the model that I showed everyone last time I was here was, take a snap, the model was able to pinpoint faces. I will say the accuracy was around 90-95%. And the use case I gave to them is take one notch further, identify the names. Right? So that saves 10-15 minutes of the time for the professor who can focus more onto the course. So that is one extension of the education part of it. And the second part is codes coming out of ChatGPT. An expert can easily pick it up. I'll be very frank, majority of you. So earlier probably, okay, I'd like to rephrase this way. Earlier, the assignments were being copied. Probably if I have done the assignment, I'll copy the same and replicate it. Now the prompts could be copied, right? So rather than sending large files, students could be sending the prompts that just open up, have 2-3 prompts, you'll get the answer there. It is easily pickable. And there are tools in market which could say that this is generated by an GPT app, right? So the university could even employ, so during our times we used to call it as plagiarism checks. So during submission of thesis, we used to put the thesis to that and it used to give us the references on the plagiarism part of it. So yes, it is detectable because the way the code is structured, right, you can make out that this is not the format from our students, right? So it is detectable.
So I have a slightly, probably different angle to it. Whenever tools come out like this, it's natural students are going to find ways to use them and circumvent. There's always a loophole, and we're all smart enough to find that loophole. In the example you gave, I'm wondering maybe we should extend that application to also monitor how many students stay through the end of the class, not only just attend. But I think here it's a challenge for the educators, right, for the professors, that how do you make a class interesting when such tools are already there? How do you make the assignment more relevant for the benefit of the student rather than testing what they have learned of what you have taught? So for example, as Sir was saying, using AI across the disciplines today is a must. Now, if I'm teaching a finance course and somewhere I have to use AI, how can you give them an assignment which forces them to use a tool of AI for solving a certain problem? So the creativity and the ownership is on the educators. Honestly, from my perspective, not on the student.
Just make one small point.
Please go ahead.
See, when students pass out, the industry is actually expecting them to use these tools. So if throughout the 4 years we keep holding them back from using these tools, when will they learn? They will just learn it like illegally, right? So if somebody is making use of, let's say there's a course on design. Say you have a mechanical engineering course where you've done design and you've done it in Excel. In real life, what happens is you submit a design. Customer is asking for you to change the design, saying, okay, if this is what it is, it's going to cost us so much. Can you cut this cost by so much? Or this is going to take us 6 months to produce. Can you change these design elements so we can produce it in 2 months? To go through the revision, then they will say, we will take the design home, we will rework it and come back. This is the old world, okay? In the same way, startups are going to private equity firms and presenting their business plan. The investor says, hey, your plan right now looks like this, can you make these adjustments? Then they say, we will rework it and bring it back. Whereas if I was to use GPT, I can make it there, right? Then you save one more meeting, you probably risk never getting to meet them again. That's the skill that the industry wants, right? So we should not hold people back. See, this is like artificially telling people don't use calculators throughout your engineering. That's not how they're going to live. Might as well get them ready for the real world they're joining, right? And the companies will be grateful that New Horizon is producing people who are AI ready instead of just being people who are just, see, 3 years ago versus now, the world is completely different. I think we just have to, so this is like COVID, right? A new type of COVID has come. This is a good COVID, right? Live with it. Just go into it full on, make the most of it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that part. So just a I would say, observation from my side is, say in your placement interviews, the company should not ask you, please write a code which solves this problem. The company, or probably, New Horizons, should pitch to the company that ask our students how to make this into production. How to put this code into production, and probably where it will fail and how will you manage it. That should be the style of the interview. I hope that's what you were trying to say, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I think we'll just take, you have something to add?
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So similar to what they also said, otherwise the students have this cognitive dissonance, right? Because all through their college years, they've been told that this is bad, don't do it. And then once they're in industry, these tools are available to them. Like, I encourage my team to use any Gen AI tools if it makes the work faster. The other intelligence, the human intelligence, is what they have to offer, which is like the design choices. The evaluation metrics also have to be reformed in education system. Maybe define a new evaluation metric. Don't just look at the code or the assignment. Have better ways to evaluate. I'll give an example. When I was in college, Google search was the Gen AI alternative. So faculty was often afraid that we would just Google things or do a web search and then find solutions and not read books and things. But what is wrong with that? And then it took only a couple of professors to realize it, and then they changed the evaluation metric. So they changed it to the time. So we had like live rounds where they evaluated who came up with the best keyword to get the answer fastest, who was able to make the best design choice of the various solutions offered by Google. So that is where our intelligence comes into play. And I think reforming the evaluation metric is an important part of it. And if I may add one quick thing, because we spoke of innovation, and a lot of my questions were rooted in fear because of the industry that I represent here. But I want this room to be filled with excitement for AI. And you'll see that it's omnipresent, right? You will hardly meet anyone now who doesn't know about AI. And the reason is fundamentally because of what it stands for. It's trying to mimic something that is human intelligence. And human intelligence touches us everywhere. Like, everything that you do involves thinking. So everywhere there is room for application of AI. And if you're talking about innovation in AI, there is the what and the how. So the what is which offers a lot of room for innovation, because anything where you think, you apply your mind to, maybe you can build a model to do that, which is why it works across industries. It is not just automation and not just automobile or like security or healthcare. It is across industries because everywhere there are human minds working. But then there's also the how. How do these work? So you've also touched upon the black box situation, right? So understanding the how is, although it's a niche space, that's a very exciting space to be in. Maybe you can be somebody who can develop the next ChatGPT. Maybe you can also take smaller steps. So you may know about the ReLU layers and other such activation functions, right? Maybe you can think of another activation function. Maybe you can be the person who builds a better way to pool. Why just use max pooling, average pooling, global average pooling? Maybe you can build a better better pooling mechanism. So maybe you can build a better architecture. So that is how even the current state-of-the-art architectures came into picture, right? ImageNet put up this problem statement that, hey, you have these set of images, have a means to classify them. For several years, we were only using classical techniques to do it. And then around 2013, I think AlexNet dropped. And then since then, we've had several pre-trained networks working better than humans on classifying objects. Why did that happen? Because somebody thought about the how, and this is the perfect room to think about the how. So the what is exciting, but the how is also, if not more, just as exciting.
Thank you, Ashwati.
Just add one thing.
Yeah, sure.
So my view is, most important is discover your own passion. Just do that. Most of the things will fall in place. And the next one is, hey, we are here 4 years of engineering. We went through some workshop at the first year, whatever. So that means doing is the learning. Doing is the only thing that we get that hands-on experience. And important is to, I keep repeating, fail, no problem. The more number of times you fail, that means Your passion will push you to go to the next level, and that is exactly new horizon. You need to go to the new horizon. Not be at the same level, huh? You need to go to the new horizon. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll just take a small pause here. And now it's the audience time. We would open up this entire floor for a question answer session. So students, you can please stand up, use the mic that's being sent to you to ask your questions to any of the panelists here. Yep. You can direct your questions specifically to an panelist. You can introduce yourself and ask the question. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rohan, and I'm from AI/ML department here. So this question is specifically.
Yeah, he wants it
This
to be
question
louder.
is specifically for Mr. Sridhar as well as the entire panel. So we recently saw like Ocean Gate submarine getting blasted inside. So when you talk about ethical sense of AI, where do we draw the line? Like we can experiment n number of times, but at what point should we draw the line?
Okay.
It's working.
So, am I audible?
You can take this.
See, there's a recent NASA expedition that went to an asteroid and got some minerals back. How far would you go? Right. So I think human beings at some stage are just not going to stop at any limits. So the purpose is what defines ethical and not what you do. Is this clear? See, if I see a human being, can I cut that person's arm? But if that person's arm is infected, then I will cut it. A doctor will cut it and 5 people will help, and then the patient will thank the doctor and pay. Right? So ethical or not is always situation specific, and these are not new. And AI has somehow probably become, in our school days we used to ask questions like, is science a boon or a bane? Now AI has just replaced that, right? My God, so many debates on the same thing, right? So it's just maybe the big leap that AI has taken has made people to look back at it again, but we've been seeing so many waves of so many things. So just make the most of it. And see, I'll just ask one question. Sorry, I'm just going to be very direct, right? Because I feel that this wishy-washy stuff doesn't leave an impression, right? Talk to a couple who don't have a child. Ask them how far they will go to have one. Okay? Meet somebody who's just lost a loved one and ask how far they would have gone to prevent that. All right? I think that's the answer for you. Okay?
Good afternoon. My name is Bhumika and I'm from AI/ML department as well. My question's for Ms. Ashwati. Since you're from healthcare department and the kind of work that you guys do is mostly machine learning and data science, so I wanted to ask, how is the new Gen AI really affecting healthcare? Has it made an entry since you're from the industry?
So the healthcare domain typically moves slow because of the high stakes and how the ramifications of things go wrong are also intense. So Gen AI's role, I would say, would be at chatbot level in healthcare as of today. But that doesn't mean that we can't use it in the coming years. For example, if anybody, I hope nobody here has been hospitalized, but if anyone has been, you would notice that thought of discharge you in the morning, but then the actual time when you get to leave the hospital is usually several hours later because somebody has to write the discharge summary. the doctor doesn't find time to make the discharge summary. Maybe Gen AI can help with that. Put the script ready and review. Get the doctor or the senior doctor review it, and then discharge the person. So that's a safe enough place to apply Gen AI in healthcare. But I would still say that things move pretty slow in healthcare. In fact, there was, like, within my team, we were, when the paid version of ChatGPT came and we were about to subscribe to it, there was a joke that it doesn't make sense for us to do it. The 2021 version is recent enough for healthcare. Anything that trained on 2021 data is good enough for us in 2023, because the way that it progresses, any change in healthcare progresses is pretty slow.
Hello. Good afternoon. Myself, Dr. Uma. I have one question. We are all about talking about AI. As the statistics says, we are the third fastest nation who is working towards AI. And coming to the dark side of AI, as it is an open eye, lot of data is rolling out and day by day. Are we not parallelly to grow with security also?
Everyone's looking at me. Sorry, the last part of your question, are we not?
Security-wise, we also parallelly need to rise with cyber security along with an AI. That's what my...
Yeah. That's absolutely. So, believe me, if you've been part of the cybersecurity industry, you will realize there are very, very creative minds on the side of trying to hack through systems. I'll give you an example. There was a company, not to name the company, they had, in the lobbies they have these aquariums, and they had a thermometer which was measuring the temperature of the water, and it would relay the temperature to the building management system and so on, so regulation. The hacker got through that thermometer into the data center of the company and was able to access their data. So security is only going to get more stringent and necessary. And the principle in security is make your maximum attempt to prevent, but assume breach. So when you design your IT environment, you have to assume you're going to be breached. Now data, what are bad people after? They're after data. They're after your password, your email, your social security, that's your Aadhaar number, and so on. And the more we digitize, the more we want to link things to Aadhaar or social security or whatever have you, the worse the desire to get that data gets. And how do you keep that data safe in the world of AI has only gotten more intricate. I won't say hard, and I'm really making an effort not to say hard, because cybersecurity has always been hard for the practitioners, the people who put all these complex tools. We have tools, we have data loss prevention tools. DLP is not a new technology, it's been there forever. We have things like CASB, which monitors all your applications and ensures that no data is leaking. All the tools have been there. But are people able to use those tools in synchronization with the rest of the environment, their regulatory needs, their compliance needs, their risk, and finally get what they want to achieve? It will keep getting complicated. If you remember, when ChatGPT was released, some companies banned ChatGPT from being used because, unfortunately, there were employees who were leaking code, their own code, saying, check this for me. You know, there's no null pointers and so on, whatever all that bad stuff that happens. But it only gets more intricate, more detailed, and more necessary to deploy defense in depth to ensure that even your systems, your cybersecurity systems, are able to predict. So we look, for example, at the first 7 packets of a chain of a session between 2 entities, 2 endpoints, and are able to predict, is this a bad file? Is this a bad DNS protocol running? Does it have malicious information? And that we use AI as well. So it's used on both sides, but you're absolutely right. Cybersecurity gets more and more important.
See, as you are a technical people or industry perspective, you are looking of cybersecurity. As a common man, many people are using social media, network, AI, medical data, lot of data. Even Google is at 50 year there. Wherever I'm going, it is tracking me. As a common man, where we need a security apps or security authentication to download certain apps, and generalizely we required, I feel, with respect.
No, absolutely. See, at the end of the day, whatever data you're generating is being saved somewhere. And believe me, everything you're on is being saved somewhere. So once it's digital, it's out there, right? Now, the consciousness of cybersecurity, especially in the B2C domain, and when end consumers are involved, starts with the consumer, right? How many of you have enabled MFA on your Gmail or Outlook or whatever you use? Multi-factor authentication. Right, so I'm not seeing the entire audience put your hand up, right? Simple things that people can do to employ at whatever level of security you can do personally at your level. Start there. Then start seeing how much you're sharing on social media. How bad actors get in is through social engineering. They're looking at where you're going for vacation. Who's your sister, who's your brother, what are their phone numbers, how the entire ecosystem is working, and then they target you. So cybersecurity starts from you, especially in the consumer domain.
Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon, panelists. My name is Khushi Shrimali, and I'm from the Data Science Department. My question is to all the panelists. How do you think AI is faring in terms of artificial intelligence? Are we still being dependent on international companies helping us to develop ourselves? And how we, as the youth of India, have the responsibility towards this area? Thank you.
We are very good at applying things. So for example, you pick up a programming language. I'm very sure we can pick up anything within 10 to 15 days of limit, right? Keeping this in mind, it's a right time for all of us to make India as the actual research and development hub, which we are not right now, right? Each organization is now coming up with a separate budget, which is paid for R&D, saying that out of 100%, X amount of budget, we are going to do R&D, and we are going to build our own in-house tools, okay? I'll give you a simple example. That is what I'm currently doing, right? So I'm currently building up a seamless AI platform, which could automate test cases, right? So for example, as a Python developer, you're writing a particular code. What if when you write the code, you get the unit tests? You get the test scenarios right inbuilt in the code, so that when you pass on your code to the testing team, they have to waste less amount of time, or probably you have already corrected your code because of that part of it, right? So yes, it is yet to come, but I'm seeing a change in the organizations. So as she said very clearly that companies banned ChatGPT because they were putting the confidential codes on them. Now each organization is trying to build their own, customized generative models. That could be a start of an R&D for us, right? So yes, AI awareness, and I would say people coming out of that application mindset. There are a lot of companies now who are having R&D department, right? And I see a lot of you probably getting into that. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Okay. You need the mic? Here. Students, you can also take some questions after the discussion is over. The panelists are available. You can meet them in person to shoot out your questions. I think we've more or less come to a very interesting
I have a question.
panel discussion. Yes, sir.
I have a question to them.
Okay.
See, India 65% of India is still in rural economy. So many of these enablers, etc., technologies that we all are focused on those 35%. So if artificial intelligence and how could it lead in the country's vision of whatever 10 trillion economy, because then the real economy is from rural India. It's my view. Over to you guys.
What I would request the panelists to do is we can have this wrap-up of the session in terms of your last thoughts on the artificial intelligence, New Horizon Tech Talk. And you could give your answer, you could give your last concluding remarks, and we can wrap up the New Horizon talk. So you can even answer his question about what do we do for the... AI. Yes, rural economy through AI. Just to reiterate what Mr. Indushekar has said. Over to you, Krishna.
Hello. Yeah. What best comes to my mind right now is the way the mobile internet revolution has changed the world. I hope all of you appreciate that, because being from an era where paying for a GB, used to customize, basically switch off certain services so that we don't use the extra GB. Now that is gone. So the very first thing is providing an infrastructure, basic infrastructure that could be connectivity, compute, storage, right? So overall, if compute, storage, networking could be subsidized, right, which could penetrate the rural areas, that is going to participate or probably increase the participation of a lot of people, right? So probably that could solve the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. This weekend, coincidentally, I'm on an advisory board for an NGO who works with farmers. And one of the big projects that they're planning to roll out, given infrastructure works as it's supposed to also, is for example, I don't want to give you a concrete example. It is lots of farmers today are able to, let's say, use one crop, use their land for growing one crop. And today AI can help them, guide them, assist them in deciding what other crop can grow in that particular piece of land based on pH, based on nutrients that will be traced through IoT devices, which can be sent over 5G to be computed into a model. And by the way, all this is available. The problem, what is not available, is the ability to put in those devices, connect through 5G. So I just wanted to give you at least one concrete example of an application that can really change our rural economy, starting with those people who give us our food every day, the farmers of India. And thanks to all of them.
Fantastic. So you know where the opportunity is.
Absolutely.
That is that 65% market.
Yes, yes.
Right? Hey! Yes. Right?
Yeah, so we've spoken about infrastructure. One of the beautiful things about AI is that most of the models we have out there right now are static models. Once trained, you deploy them. They don't even have to be connected to the internet, which is why it's a perfect fit for rural India or any places that suffers from the digital divide. Because you train the model, you test the model in a place that has the infrastructure, and then you deploy it and you don't need to be connected. You only need means to provide it the input data and then get the required output from it.
I'm happy to be part of this wonderful discussion, and I wish you all lunch.
Thank you so much. And before we move on to the felicitations of all the panelists who have taken their time out of their busy schedule, let's just look at what went in the last 1.5 hours. And I think we've had very, very interesting discussions from people who are actually dealing in artificial intelligence day in and day out, except, of course, to the person to my right. And of course, he had very, very good questions which he posed to the audience, to the fellow panelists, in terms of how we as a country can inch forward to actually embracing artificial intelligence. Just wanted to bring to the notice of everybody present here, gone are the days where we check the students' knowledge questions. We are moving on to the creativity level. We have the taxonomy of questioning where we move from remembering level to the creating level. And that's exactly where the paradigm shift has to be moved to. It's just not about teaching, it's about asking the right questions. You give the right prompts, you give the right questions, and you're going to have the right answers. This is what has emerged out of this discussion. Technology is here to stay, ladies and gentlemen. Students, technology is there. How well we embrace. The teacher should ask the questions which the student has to use his creativity, use his critical thinking. That's the 21st century skills. And these are answers that not a chat GPT is going to give. This is what the unique human intelligence, which is present in each and every one of us, is actually going to bring forth. So each of us are unique. Each of us have the acumen to answer the questions. Coming to the teacher's side, ask questions which really bring out the creativity of the students and not just regurgitation of facts. Let's just not restrict ourselves to the knowledge level. Let's move on to the creative level. And just to sum up this beautiful discussion, whether it was from the medical domain or whether it's from the industry, or we have the adjunct faculty there, or Palo Alto, or congratulations to Krishna, who's going to start on something more interesting. I want the students to stay back to ask questions about his startup. I thought all this can be summarized with just one beautiful quote of William Shakespeare, which says, "There is nothing good or bad." I repeat, there is nothing good or bad, it's only our thinking that makes it so. So everything boils down to our thought process, everything boils down to attitude, which you said. We decide to embrace, I think we can embrace, and definitely sky is the limit. Thank you so much.
Sky is not the limit.
Thank you, audience. You have some questions, yeah.
Just 2 minutes of your time. Hi, everyone. How close are we to a Terminator scenario? How close are we to sentient AI? To all the panelists. Can you? How close are we to a Terminator scenario? How close are we to sentient AI?
I think by Terminator scenario, what I understand the closest is singularity. That's what we call the last stage of AI. Basically, AI is going to surpass our intelligence and probably teach us back. Frankly speaking, don't have any answer on that, but at least I can say reaching -2 stages, that is, I think this is a 7th stage what you asked for. To reach up to stage 5 and 6, I think we have one more decade as the growth is going. So I believe prior to generative AI and AI becoming popular, there was a linear growth. Everything was growing linearly. Post 2020, we have seen the growth is exponential. So again, as I said, a decade, I could be wrong here, right? I don't have a definitive answer, but yes, at least in one decade, you're going to see stage 4, 5, and 6 becoming the reality. Yeah. Anybody wants to add?
Once again, I reiterate the fact that you can stay back to... Students, you can get some time out to interact with the panelists, and thank you once again for being with us. New Horizon College of Engineering would like to extend its gratitude to each one of you who has joined us. May we hear it for the wonderful panelists, and thank you so much. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the person who created, who envisioned, who took the initiative of kickstarting New Horizon Talks. Please put it out for Mr. Dharmesh, the president of New Horizon College of Engineering. Thank you so much, Mr. Dharmesh. This is just This is just a start, and we would love to have such serious conversations. We would like to listen to all the experts discussing the most common topics and getting ourselves engaged in meaningful conversations. With this, I would like to request Dr. Anita, the Director of Library and Information Resource, to please step forward to honor our panelists. To the teacher among us, Mr. Sridhar, thank you so much for being with us today. He looks more a student. Please put your hands together to thank Mr. Indushekar. Ms. Ashwati, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for sharing your meaningful insights. From Palo Alto, thank you so much, Swapna. I know I made you miss some calls, but thank you so much for being with us today. Students, I know for sure that one day you're going to occupy your position on the dais. Please give it up for Krishna Dave. Thank you so much. A big round of applause to our alumnus from New Horizon College of Engineering. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Anita. Last but not the least, a quick introduction about myself. I'm Dr. Soumya Narayanan. I'm the director of the Skill Center and the Center for Life Skills and Lifelong Learning. And I think it's been brilliant to understand all the insights from all of you so that we know exactly where the skill gap lies and what we should be doing to actually augment the skills of both the faculty fraternity and the students. Thank you once again. May we all rise up for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता।
Wonderful, my friend.